Okay, so for the enhanced Libra boss fight, I kind of wanted to give a brief commentary on what my thought process was going into the fight and kind of my preparation for it. So Libra is the only boss in the game weak to madness, and it's also the only boss in the game that is, I would actually say, way easier to do when you're playing it solo as opposed to in a squad of three. Because in squads of three, especially with random people, you're not going to get teammates that are especially good at the game. So for this boss in particular, I'll get to as to why, but it is easier to just go ahead and do it solo. So for my prep here, as you saw, I bought an extra Winding Grace. I had three, and for the Shifting Earth that I did the city, and I got the free revive for completing the city. So I had actually 5 revives. I didn't know that going in. And but I did have 5. I didn't end up using all of them. But for the actual fight itself here, the only deal that's really worth picking that he gives you beforehand is the eventual greatness, which takes away your stamina for 2 minutes and then like gives you like a 20% buff to it after a little while. And then for the actual fight, as you can see, I procced Madness on him, and it did an enormous chunk of damage. And he immediately starts phase 2 here. And then I go for another one, and it takes another huge chunk, but for every time I use it, it kinda becomes less and less effective until he eventually starts the summons, which is why it is easier to do solo as opposed to with other people, because other people don't really know what to do, they're not managing it, they're just really going for the boss, and they let the summons get out of control. So what he does is he'll summon a character that's the same as you or your squad every like minute or so, and if you don't kill it within a minute, he summons more, regardless of whether or not you've killed the previous batch. And after the first one he summons, which is the one I just killed there, he starts adding effects. So you see a demon summons the condemned, and then he'll add a second one, which here was incites a riot. And based on which after effect he uses, determines really whether or not you need to focus on the clones of you or not. So when he incites a riot, that means he summons double, and instead of being focused on you, the clones will kind of just do whatever and attack whoever, whether that be each other or even the boss. So when he does that, I'm not really worried about taking out the clones of myself, because they're kind of just fighting each other in the background, giving me plenty of time to get some alone time with the boss here, which I do eventually get up and start attacking him. And then he summons another after effect, which gives me just a madness build-up over time, and kind of makes me a little more concerned about whether or not I pick up the crystals on the battlefield that relieve madness that you can see that just dropped right there. When it builds up, you take a big proc of madness, it does a ton of damage, and you're kind of just sitting still and able to be attacked, which is not good and can lead to some shenanigans, which is really just kind of the name of the game with this boss. But I'm kind of sitting here waiting for a crystal to drop to try and alleviate some of my stuff, but he placed the boundary down so I can't get out of it without taking damage. I get proc madness, get hit twice, and was victim to some shenanigans. And I mean, there's really not a whole lot I could have done about that, but I have 5 revives, so I kind of ensured beforehand that I was able to withstand a little bit of shenanigans, which is bound to happen here. So I'm kind of just trying to get alone time with the boss and avoid any bad after effects, like the one he just did. He incites a challenge, which halves your HP, the summon's HP, and his HP, which is one that I kind of want to get away immediately, when the only way to get rid of any of the after effects that he has is to kill the summon. So I'm trying to get in and kill the summon as quick as I can, with also avoiding all of the AoE that he just has everywhere on the battlefield. I get lucky there and the clones kill each other, and then I fall victim to more shenanigans, which is always awesome. I check my inventory, I have like I have 3 revives left, so I'm chilling. Get hit by some more shenanigans, and I go in to kill this one. Which is, you know, always kind of difficult because these clones of yourself aren't really mindless. They can do some crazy stuff. I've been parried by one of them before, and I almost just had to quit the game immediately after that. What I try and do here is wait to use my ult until he's fully summoned in and he can take damage, but I kind of whiff the timing, and the summon doesn't really take any damage. I also make a really stupid move here and I get backstabbed by myself. See, it's just ridiculous what the summons can do. That shouldn't be able to do that, just 100%. Not fair, especially when you have 3 people and there's like 6 summons running around when he incites a riot. It's ridiculous, and doing it with teammates who don't know how to play the game is just impossible. But I'm kind of shut in by the boundary there. He does me a favor and jumps forward so I can get in some more attacks on him. Really, it's just a waiting game now. Trying to get in before he can summon more people. My madness procs really aren't going to be doing much at this point. So I just have to wait him out, get good punishes on any attacks that he does. And then he eventually does summon more. I'm out of stamina, so I kind of back off a little bit. He incites another riot, so he's really doing me some favors. I'm kind of waiting for him to come in on me right here because he's putting the boundary down and I can't go over to fight the summons. He does me another huge favor and jumps in at me, which is exactly what I wanted. And so I'm starting to wail on him. I know his attack patterns at this point. I get in another madness proc and he goes into his physical boost mode where he goes insane. And he does me another huge favor by attacking the summons that he made. And so I'm really a spectator at this point, just watching him go to town on his own allies. And he eventually, at some point, recognizes that I'm supposed to be the one he's fighting, so he will re-aggro onto me, start another riot, which is super awesome. Especially when the summons aren't fighting you. I get a huge madness proc, and at this point I get shenanigans again, but I still have, I think, 3 revives, so I'm not extremely worried about it. I go in. This move right here was kind of stupid because the barrier he places down does AoE, so I get hit by that. But he comes in on me with both of my summons fighting each other, and he kind of lets me get it right there. And with that, he goes down, and you know, once you manage his summons, getting in and out of them when you need to, it's pretty much over.